Hello and welcome back to the latest episode of An American in Thailand, airing every Friday. This program is broadcast to you from Ratchamakan University of Technology, Peranakan. And this program is going to be coming to you in two parts. For the first part, we'll introduce a certain topic about being an American living here in Thailand. Could be about food, travel, culture, lifestyle, politics, anything like that. We'll then take a break, and in the second part of the program, we'll get into more examples, more specifics, explain some things, whatever we want to do with that topic. Okay, let's get to the program. Welcome, everyone. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for An American in Thailand. So I am an American English teacher here at Ratchamakan University of Technology, Peranakan. And I've been teaching here for about 9 years almost. So, been here quite a long time. I like to think I have a pretty good feel for the Thai culture, the difference between Thailand and America. I also have a pretty good feel for America. Obviously, I grew up there. I am American. But there are also a lot of different cultures in America. But I grew up in a very rural part of America. I've lived in several very urban environments in America. So I've kind of been all over the place in America as well. Haven't been to a lot of the West too much, but I have visited a few times. America's a big country. It's hard to visit all of it. But I've lived in the North. I've lived in the South. I've lived in the Middle. I've lived lots of different places, visited lots of places in America. So I think I have a pretty decent feel for the differences in our culture. Although today's topic is not really going to be very cultural, what we're going to discuss today is the difference between the Thai and the Western calendars. All right? That may sound a little weird, right? That's boring. Actually, there's one thing that's actually really kind of interesting about it, specifically about the Western calendar. Although, because of where Thailand got its calendar from, that issue is basically the same thing in the Thai calendar. All right, so there's something that's weird about the Western calendar, which transferred to the Thai calendar because of when and how Thailand adopted their calendar. So we'll wait until the second half to get into that kind of interesting little weird thing about our calendars, because it's something that both the Western and the Thai calendar have in common. It comes specifically from the Western calendar, so I'm saying that it's something weird about the Western calendar, but technically it's part of what kind of got transferred over to the Thai calendar. So the Thai calendar is the same. And the reason for that is because of the origins of the Thai calendar. So let's talk about the origins of each. And the origins of the Thai calendar? It's a solar calendar based on the Gregorian calendar. And that's the Western calendar. But what's different about it? Well, when I first moved here, I saw people putting in years like 2,500 something. I'm like, what year is that? What year are you talking about? All right, so the Thai calendar runs 543 years ahead of the Gregorian calendar. So the Gregorian calendar is just the normal Western calendar. It was put in place by Pope Gregory. And it's the calendar you're familiar with. It's, as I record this, it is early February 2026. That's the Gregorian calendar. So that's the one that everyone's familiar with that the Western world uses. And the Thai calendar is exactly the same, except 543 years ahead. And that's why it never gets out of sync either. In other words, it's not like January 20th is somehow January 24th in Thailand. No. No, it's the same calendar. You're using the Gregorian calendar. I mean, there are a couple differences. The one is the 543-year edition. But there's also the fact that in Thailand, we used to mark April 1st as the start of the new year. That's why Songkran comes in April. I didn't look up the reasoning for why they have the specific dates, because we don't celebrate it on the 1st. My guess is it has something to do with the lunar cycle. So maybe the first full moon, I'm not really sure. I'd have to check that out. That's not what this article is about, this episode's about. But I didn't look that up. But that's why Songkran's in April, because that's when the New Year's is. That's the Thai New Year's. But they did change it officially as far as like what is legally considered the New Year. They changed it in 1941 here in Thailand so that it now matches the Western calendar. January 1st is now officially New Year's. But traditionally, April 1st is, which is why Songkran comes in April. So now, with the New Year's being officially January 1st, there's really no difference from the Gregorian calendar at all. It's the same calendar. The only difference is the years. You're running 543 years ahead. So, why? What's the deal with 543 years? Now, since I'm the American, I have no idea about this. I don't know why. Most of you listening to this are probably Thai, and so most of you probably already know this. But for anyone that doesn't, I had to Google it. I had to look it up. I didn't know. But Gautama Buddha is believed to have died in 543 BC. On the Western calendar, it would be 543 BC. But on the Thai calendar, that's year one. So they counted 543 years before the Western calendar got to year one. So they're 543 years ahead of the Western calendar. So as far as the Western calendar and its origins, as I already explained, it's basically the exact same thing as the Thai calendar. But while the Thai calendar starts its counting of the years in relationship to Gautama Buddha, the Western calendar does so in association with Christ. Because when this was set up, the years at least, let me put it that way, because we had the calendar before Christ. We had it before then. It was a different version. We're going to talk about that in the second half. But we did have it, but it was still relatively similar. We had a calendar before then. So how could it be based on Christ if he didn't even exist then? But the setting up of the years, how we count the years, that was done a little bit later. And that's done based on Christ. Now, I'll be honest with you. This should be something simple and obvious because we use BC and AD for the reference to Christ. I have no idea what it refers to. Because what they mean are two totally different things. BC is before Christ. AD is after death. Well, that means the time that he was alive in between is nothing. So no, that's not right. So I'm not sure whether that references his birth or his death. I don't know. I'm going to guess it references his death. Simply because the Thai calendar does the same thing, but with Gautama Buddha. where they reference his death for their start year. That's my guess. But I don't know that for sure. And so that's the difference for the 543 years. However, the West did not always use the Gregorian calendar. As I said, the name of it comes from Pope Gregory. So before that, they used the Julian calendar. It's actually very similar. The days are just slightly inaccurate, so the seasons kind of slowly drift out of whack. Just very slowly. Like I'm filming this in early February, and in the Julian calendar, it would be like mid-January. It's only a couple weeks off. And I said it slowly drifts, and this was from like over 1,000 years ago, and that's as far as it's drifted in over 1,000 years. That's not too bad. But it does drift. It does drift. So they switched to the Gregorian calendar to be a little bit more accurate with the days, so that we don't kind of have a calendar which slips. I mean, eventually, the middle of winter is going to be hot and the middle of summer is going to be cold. Of course, it's never really cold here in Thailand, but in other parts of the world. If the days keep slipping, eventually you're going to be like the opposite seasons. So we use the Gregorian calendar to kind of keep things lined up better than the Julian calendar did. So we used to have the Julian calendar. Also, the calendar, even before that, before the Julian calendar, also only had 10 months. And that's what's going to lead us to the weird thing we'll discuss in the second part of our program. So stay tuned for that, because that's where it gets a little interesting. All right, let's take a break. Welcome back, everyone. All right, so we're talking about the differences between the Thai and the Western calendar. In the first part, we found that the only real difference is the 543-year difference, as far as when we started counting the years. Here in Thailand, it's based on the death of Gautama Buddha. In the West, it's based on Jesus Christ. But, other than that, they both follow the Gregorian calendar, which is why our days never kind of get out of sync. We're all following the same days for the calendar. So when we get to the next year, it's the next year, when we etc. Now, historically, here in Thailand, we would flip the year at a different date. We'd flip it to the next year on January 1st in the West, and here in Thailand, we'd flip it to the next day on April 1st. Flip it to the next year, on April 1st. But as I mentioned in the first half of the program, they changed that in 1941, so that Thailand flips it on January 1st as well. So that makes it even more similar. So again, the only difference is really that 543-year difference. But this hasn't been the calendar forever. And I'm mentioning this because, well, first of all, what I'm going to point out to you, I think is kind of funny and interesting. But I'm pointing it out because it also applies to the Thai calendar kind of by default, because you use the Gregorian calendar to come up with the Thai calendar. So everything that comes before the Gregorian calendar is the same history. So the Thai calendar, the Western calendar, same history, pre-Gregorian. So this applies to both. So in the second half of this program, we're not really talking about the differences between the two. We're going to talk about something that's a little bit weird and quirky. Okay, so as I mentioned in the first part, prior to the Gregorian calendar, we used the Julian calendar. But that also was not the first calendar. Prior to that, we used the Roman calendar, which began around 738 BC. Now, again, that's the years, so we're counting years. That's going to be a little different in the Thai calendar, that's going to be about, I don't know, I didn't even write it down, just calculating off the top of my head. What is that, 185? 195 years, I think. That's going to be like 195 before Buddha. So the year is going to be a little different here in Thai years. But in Western years, it was about 738 BC. But it only had 10 months. It was in 452 BC, so that would be about 83 after Buddha, I think. I'm just doing the math in my head quickly. I think that's about 83 after Buddha. 452 BC, a Roman ruler decided to add 2 months. He put January at the beginning and February at the end. March used to be the first month of the year. Later, you may say February at the end. February's not at the end. Yes, later, they moved February to between January and March. The months have never had their name changed. All the way back to that time. All the way back. That's like over 2,000 years ago. Almost 3,000. Because we started in 738 BC. Almost 3,000 years. We've never changed the names. They are slightly different because of language. I forget what March is, how they pronounce March, like Martius or something like that. But it's March. It's still March. March is March. It's the same month. The only 2 months that have ever changed are July and August. They were named after Julius Caesar and Augustus. They were previously Quintilis and Sextilis. And that's where things get weird. Okay. If your English is good enough, I know I'm speaking to a lot of Thai people when we do this broadcast, so maybe you're just listening to try to help understand English a little more. But if your English is already pretty good, you might have learned prefixes, suffixes, and what they mean. Both of those old names for those 2 months, Quintilis and Sextilis, have prefixes in them. The prefix quint means 5. The prefix sex means 6. Okay, so you may notice something that doesn't make sense. 5 and 6. Quint and sex. 5 and 6. They were replaced with July and August. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Those are months 7 and 8. But their names are 5 and 6. Yeah, because they were the 5th and 6th months before January and February were added. They never changed the names of the month, which is crazy. Well, their names were changed to July and August. So who cares, right? We changed the names, doesn't matter anymore. But here's the thing. All of the months after June, not just Quintilis and Sextilis, all the months after June were named this way. And again, we've never changed the names. They're the same names today. September, October, November, December. Same names. Sept. For September, sept means 7, and it's the 9th month. Oct for October means 8, but it's the 10th month. Nov for November means 9, but it's the 11th month. And Dec, D-E-C, for December means 10, but it's the 12th month. So this can be very weird and confusing for anyone who's trying to learn English, especially if you're learning your English prefixes. Some of these prefixes we use quite a bit. Like a shape with 8 sides is called an octagon. We talk about that shape, I wouldn't say a lot. There aren't a lot of octagons out there, but a stop sign in America is the shape of an octagon. Or you could talk about an octopus that has 8 arms. We do talk about octagons in terms of sports in the MMA when they do that type of fighting. They call the area that they do the fighting in an octagon. We use that term. We use the term we use the prefix DEC for like a decade. A decade's 10 years. So we use some of these prefixes quite a bit. Oct, dec, 8, 10. And so October being the 10th month with the prefix oct, that's confusing. And December being the 12th month when the prefix means 10, that's confusing. And it's all because of the addition of January and February to the beginning. And what's amazing to me, is they made that change. They added those 2 months. Almost 2,500 years ago. 2,500 years ago. And no one's ever bothered to change the names of the months. It's not like you can't change the names of any months. We changed Quintilis and Sextilis to July and August for Julius Caesar and Augustus. You can change the names. It's been done before. But after 2,500 years, nobody has bothered to change the names of September, October, November, and December. So those four months, their names make no sense. Sept, Oct, Nov, Dec mean 7, 8, 9, 10. But they represent the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th months. And it's because we stuck January and February at the